welcome to episode 13 of Locker Room Chat. I've decided to go up north today and get one of my former competitors that I used to play against, which is actually so crazy to say. Keirra Trompf, former Queensland Firebird, over 85 National League games, premiership player in that year. They went undefeated in 2011. We had a few good battles against each other, but now a host, caller, and expert commentator for Fox Sport. Keirra, welcome.
Mads, thanks for having me. I can't wait to catch up and have a chat. All things netty. I mean, we used to have some ding dong battles, the old wing defense, wing attack, but I think you and I are very like minded. And now we find ourselves on the same team at Fox and we just love chatting netty.
I know when we get into that makeup room before we have to get out on court, we don't really draw much breath. And then it's like, oh, hang on, we're actually here to do a job. We better stop having fun and let's get into the professional side of things.
It's absolutely the best job in the world. And I wouldn't say that it's work. It's really just like rocking up with your mates and having a good chat about the netball. So I think we're the lucky ones, Mads.
I can't wait to hit your expert opinion. You were up on the sunny state for Lightning and also Firebirds games. You know them really well. Let's have a look at round 12 recap. The Lightning 74 defeated the Giants 54. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts on where the Lightning stand, because we also see this week that Jenny Brazel, their assistant coach, is stepping down. Where have you seen their season at? We say that they are the champion team on paper that have underperformed. What have you seen in person at games to be a problem for them?
Well, what I can say is when Steph Fretwell is in the house, they get the job done. She's come to two of their last games and they've won convincingly, one against the Vixens, who were previously undefeated, and then again on the weekend against the Giants. They certainly miss Steph, and I think that's more than just on the court, off the court as well. I think their identity and brand has been a little different this year under the leadership of Liz Watson. Obviously, we all know her experience as a Vixen and a Diamond, but she is too stepping into a new role as captain of that club. And I think it's taken the team a long time to gel. And they've brought in Karen Berger. She's added a lot of defensive firepower, but I just don't think we've seen that from early enough in the season. As you said, on paper, they've got all the elements there, but as you know, it takes a team mentality to really be able to shut down those strong teams and strong units. I think when the Lightning have been challenged this year, they just haven't been able to respond. And unfortunately, it's been off the back of some of their really experienced players. If I think back to a couple of their really close matches this year, it's been errors from the people they probably expect to stand up, the Courtney Bruces, the Liz Watsons, the Cara Conans. You know, they're leading the penalty stats. They're up high in the general play turnovers. I suppose the pressure has been on the Lightning all season. We've seen now Jenny Brazel, the assistant coach, she won't continue in 2027. The club's saying that that's a change in focus for Jenny. She's wanting to spend more time with family. She's been in and around netball a very long time. She was Rosalie Jenkins' assistant coach throughout the Firebirds winning run through 15-16. So she's been at the top of her game from a coaching point of view for a long time. And I suppose anyone who's sat in that chair understands the pressures. We'll see a change there. Will we see a change in the head coach role? That's another area which fans have questioned whether there's been times that Belinda, has she made the right call? It's a tough job being a head coach, and there have been times this season that the Lightning probably need to stand up as players on court, and they haven't been able to do that consistently enough.
Ash Irvin hasn't had court time, and it's really impacted her individually in her Diamond selection, being in the Diamond squad and now not being reinstated. Do you see a player like her and maybe even an Ava Black, both probably deserve to be out on court a little bit more than maybe they have been, especially with the way that the team has finished? Do you think they'll be chasing opportunities elsewhere, or do you think we might see some of those starting seven players potentially move on?
Well, I think they certainly are the future of the Lightning, and I think the club itself and the coaching staff have given the message to Irv and Ava Black, you know, that they are the future of the club, but they just haven't been given the opportunities. Ash Irvin, her game on the weekend was her best output since round 3 last year. So she has been struggling to get that consistency in the court time to be able to produce those efforts. She's got it there. She can do the job, but she's sitting behind a Courtney Bruce and a Karen Berger, real stalwarts for their countries in those positions. So whether or not Ash would make the same decision twice, knowing what she knows now, whether or not she might look to go to another club, I'd love to see Ash at the Firebirds. I know she started her journey there. I mean, her combination potentially with a Ruby Bakewell Doran, I think that's the type of goal defense that she needs, a real hard-working, hassling, one-on-one shutdown goal defense, really opens up those opportunities. We saw that on the weekend when Karen Berger was running the goal defense. It really opened up so much opportunity for Ash at the back. Yeah, she'd be bitterly disappointed. Obviously, Jessie Grenvold, the bolter into the Diamond squad, she deserves her position. Ash just didn't have the opportunities this season.
It's one of those things as a player, it's out of your control. The decision is entirely hers now because we've talked about it multiple times, all players off contract at the end of the season. So there's no better time. You really don't even have to have a hard conversation. You've just got to sign a contract wherever they really want to play you. Second game of the round was Fever 57 to the Mavs 60. It was a tight contest. It was a great game to watch. It was that one that we've been trying to get out of the Mavs for the last couple of weeks. Do you want to beat a top team above you? And they've said, no, we just want to improve. But I think you could tell by the emotion after the game how much it meant to them to win that one, especially over in the West. How did you see it all unfold?
The emotion coming out of Amy Parmenter in the press conference, it was just palpable. You know, she's played at the Giants and now the Mavs. She's never won at RAC Arena, and you could see how much that meant to the team. They're the type of wins that take you from just making up the numbers to really knowing and believing that you can beat the top teams and that you can take it out when it matters. They were challenged. The Fever really fought hard and they brought everything they had in the game to really try to bring the Mavs unstuck. They had over 13,000 people in the crowd supporting the Fever. It was deafening in there. You would have to imagine that the Mavs have really bolstered their confidence in doing that under such pressure. I think it's putting them in great stead. The Mavs are really that team that most of the other teams don't want to play because they know the style of netball is difficult to combat. They know they grow with confidence as they go through the match, and they've got so much firepower on their bench. I love the way that Jazz and Nick use their bench. They play horses for courses. They want matchups. They read the play. They don't have a set rundown on what's going to happen. They're just going to see how players react, how they respond to feedback. All right, you're not getting the job done. You're going to come off. You're going to watch what's happening. Let's give the next person in line that go, and they step up. So that competition for positions in that squad has promoted this improved performance, and they're being rewarded getting those call ups into the Diamond squad for Jessie and for Amy and for Jamie Lee Price.
And a Charlotte Sexton. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a huge surprise there as an invitee. It's a really good point you make about the coaches too, because in games when they haven't won some of those close ones, they've gone, you know what? I probably didn't get it right. I didn't pull the trigger at the right time. And that's huge accountability. I didn't make the right calls at the right moments, but I'm learning still. You can see those rewards starting to come up to this team. You talk about the fact that they are role players. They're really starting to switch into what we've seen over the last couple of seasons with the Adelaide Thunderbirds. It doesn't matter whether you're starting, whether you're on the bench, you play your role. You might be 5 minutes one week, it might be 15 the next. You then might play 60. You've just got to know that whenever you get your opportunity, know what you need to do, execute it, and you will be rewarded. It's a great environment looking in from the outside. Third game of the round was the Swifts 68 to the Firebirds 62. It was a close one in the end. That state of origin feel. You've been in multiple of those games yourself. Were you convinced by this win from the Swifts, or really it was just two teams that came up against each other at similar ability?
I think it was a real game of two halves. I thought the Swifts really owned the first half and they got off to that flying start in the first quarter, which the Firebirds never recovered from. There was, in the end, a really good fight back from the Firebirds, but just when it mattered, similar to the Lightning, crucial moments when leaders, you need to stand up. They're just turning over ball, making incorrect decisions under pressure. And that's just that confidence, belief, and understanding of where they are at in their season. They're struggling to string together two winning quarters in a row. I mean, they've struggled with injury, both of these sides, but the Swifts have certainly, since halfway through the season, the return of Paige Hadley, they've got their confidence back. They have more firepower off the bench. Grace White has been outstanding. Look, to think that she was on the bench and not a part of that side really at all, not in bowl attack anyway, she was coming in through the wing attack role at all for the first few rounds when Helen Housby was there. It blows my mind. She's outstanding. She brings so much firepower and speed through that front end. They've looked like a completely different side since she's joined. I don't think that Ruby Bakewell-Doran had the answers to Grace White. Now, we go back into the first round, the Firebirds got the job done at home against the Swifts. So I think that home court advantage and being comfortable in your environment really played into it.
I do want to ask you, as a former Firebird, have been part of the club's successful era and history. Looking in, what is it that you think needs to change? Because we've seen Akiri Wills bring in that international flair of the Kiwis. I personally don't think it's worked. They're really not sitting in any better position this year compared to last year, and supposedly they've bolstered their list. What do you want to see? Do you want to see more junior talent for this team to go back up into top four contention where they were for so many years?
I totally agree, Mads. I don't think this experiment has worked, honestly. I don't think the Fire Ferns or the Firebird Ferns has really captured the winning results that they were looking for. It's almost like a quick fix. Let's bring in all these players and see whether or not we can gel together. Now, they have had times where the team has, worked, but I think if we look at the homegrown talent that Queensland's got playing around the country, Kim Brown over playing in the Mavs, there's plenty of talent that they can use. And I think it's got to the point now where the Firebirds probably need to knuckle down and really commit to a 2-3 year plan with some of these players, understanding they may not get the results, but they are going to sign an Elsa Sif Sandholt. They're going to get Jesse Lagaya back. They might try and poach Ash Irvin, maybe try and build that culture around that Queensland spirit. And I mean, Kiri's brought that culture back and she's really embraced the past history of the Firebirds. And I absolutely believe the understanding and that connection to the past is there, but I just don't think it's translating out on court. And whether or not that's the players that are out there or the systems that are being run or all of those things combining, it's time to really hone in on those players. I think they're good enough. I think they're SSN quality and they're going to go and be signed up by other sides and they're going to get their opportunity. And maybe it could be at the detriment to the Firebirds if they continue down this road of cherry picking players from other states or countries trying to sort of fix a problem, which they may have the answer in their back door waiting for them. Their training partners are obviously stepping up. They've had a lot of injuries, and we've seen the likes of an Elsa Sif Sandholt under pressure has been able to stand up. She deserves a full-time contract and an exploration of what she can do as a player. In the state league, she's playing goal attack, so she's got that versatility, and I think that's potentially an area where the Firebirds have struggled since Gretel Berweta has retired. Pia Silbury Rickett, I mean, she's been good in the second half, but it's taken her a while to get up to that SSN level. And I just don't think at this point you can afford to drop 4 or 5 games at all at the start of the season.
No, you can't. I mean, you're a good friend of Gretel. Any chance she's thinking about a return after heading over?
Well, Gretz is a legend, and I think she wants to see the club do well. If I chat with her or I chat with Geitzia, I'm chatting with Loz Nurse, we're all past players and we all want to see the Firebirds return to the competition's best or a bit of a standout.
Winning
But
ways.
look,
You're winning ways.
it was winning ways. But you know what, Mads? We went through years of rebuilds, of bottom of the ladder. And my first season, we never won a game. But that built relationships and it built strength and resilience. And the club invested in us young players and they kept signing us on year after year. And, that over time, you build those connections with teammates and you start to work hard and get the results. I think that's where the Firebirds have sort of fallen down in the past with their signings, just not keeping people and making sure that they're in an environment where they feel like they can improve and embrace and not feel like if they make a mistake, they're going to be dropped or cut or, forgotten about the next year.
Last question on Firebirds, even Netball Queensland, your two SSN teams are coached by outsiders. Do you have the coaching pedigree there to be able to step up into SSN? Someone who's been part of the journey or the pathway. I mean, that's what is so exciting for me about Victorian netball at the moment with a Di Honey and a Jared Murphy at the helm. Also with our assistant coaches, we are Victorian coached, our two top teams. We don't see that in Queensland. Do you think that's maybe a spot to rectify to help nurture these youngsters coming through?
Yeah, I think certainly the pathways coaching, you're doing it so well in Victoria. The Thunderbirds obviously got Kathy Fellows there, but Tanya Ops, a long-term South Australian. I will say Paula Stewart, the assistant coach for the Firebirds, she's come through the pathways, a defensive specialist coach out of the state league. If I think back to my experience, I know what it meant when Vicky Wilson stepped up and stepped into the head coach role. She took us from basically the cellar dwellers to making the finals the very first season she stepped into the role. And I think you're onto something because I think that passion, belief, and love for the state, it really bleeds out in everything you do and say. You want to create that and you want to have that sense of ownership over your team. We saw Katie Walker step in for Beck Bully and Lauren Nurse when they stepped down 2 seasons ago, and she had great success. I can't remember the exact stats, but I think she won 3 out of her last 4. And she got the team on side. She has that passion. I think she would be one person that would be looking to really step up into a role in an SSN team, currently coaching the Carina East Tigers. she would be looking potentially at that Lightning assistant coach role. She's got all the love and passion for netball within Queensland. That's what's needed, some real home truths and some supported success for some young coaches. I know there are some coaching over in New Zealand who probably want an opportunity too, some young Queensland coaches. There is a blueprint there done by the Victorians, done by the South Australians, and I think maybe we've stepped away from that a little bit. And having the two Queensland teams, we've got an opportunity to really blood those coaches within the Queensland ranks.
Absolutely. The last game of the round, I think it shocked us all with the end result. The Thunderbirds 61 defeated the Vixens 42, 19-goal winners. The Thunderbirds are in the hot seat to really knuckle down that top spot and take that first qualifying final at home. We talk about the defensive ruthlessness and pressure of the Thunderbirds, and it was on show from the very beginning. The Vixens looked stifled. They just could not find their rhythm. They tried different changes. What I found quite ironic was the fact that Lily Graham hadn't played for multiple weeks during the season. She was injured or out of the team. They really could have used her in this game. It just shows that you've always got to keep those youngsters in form and playing, because I really feel like they missed a Lily Graham and missed opportunities. Plenty of open scars and wounds for the Vixens at Adelaide
Yes.
Entertainment Centre.
I think that's on their back, that Adelaide Entertainment Centre. They don't like playing there. They haven't had success in the past few years. And then Keirra Austin, she talked to it immediately leading up to that game that they really wanted to go and put their best foot forward. And I think you're spot on. Like if I had a look a couple of weeks ago, it's changed a bit now, but it was Garvin, Maloney, and Weston. They were in the top 5 for the most minutes played in the competition. So really not rotating much, keeping the nucleus of players on court for the 60 minutes each week was Di Honey and Kate Upton. But when the pressure came on in the game against the Lightning and again against the Thunderbirds, the changes all were coming in. We've seen Garvin out at goal attack. We see the rotation through the goal shooter, and just not that consistency and understanding and connection that we see from the Thunderbirds, who've been doing that for 2 to 3 years. They've been running their 10 week on, week out, even when we might think, what's Tanya doing? Their team's playing beautifully and she's ripping people off. She's bringing someone on. She's challenging this person to produce this. She's giving that person this role. And they had their captain, Hannah Petty. She started on the bench for the best part of 3 to 4 years, and that was her role to come on with impact. And I think the good teams, the really good teams, they rely on a nucleus of 9, potentially 10, and the teams that don't have that consistency in rotation, by the end of the season, they start to sort of fall away. I mean, the exception is probably the Vixens last year, but let's not forget they were really slow to start last year. They were on the bottom of the ladder, I think, in round 4 or 5. They are almost in a reverse of what's happening last year, and they're going to have to try and recapture that confidence and that knowing that it doesn't matter who's out there, you can do the job.
Going into the huddles of the Vixens, they seemed pretty calm and composed. It was trying to find solutions. They just couldn't get into their groove at all. And credit to the Thunderbirds, because I think it is as much the physical battle for the Vixens as it is the mental one against the Thunderbirds. Interesting times, I think, for the Vixens. Maybe they needed that pressure off their back a little. They are chasing for back-to-back. They are the reigning premiers. They are still the hunted, even if they're sitting in second spot. Maybe the loss is exactly what they needed to once again kind of tweak some of their adjustments. Let's have a little recap on our blinders. Last week, I said that Latanya Wilson was going to get 6 or 8 intercepts. She didn't. No surprise to our main listeners. I still haven't got a blinder. Bianca did say that she thought that Heffernan and Vandenberg would get over 100 net points. That didn't happen either. So I'll be glad to tell Bianca on the weekend you didn't get one either. You're sitting at 0. Trending news this week. Let's talk about the Diamonds squad. There's been a lot of chat on social media about people saying it's safe, it's boring. Yeah, it is safe. It's a tried and true squad. I kind of think if you're ever going to make some serious changes at the start of this 2-year cycle of the major events is when you would do it. So this is probably where we're looking for the next 2 years. I'd like to add I got a pass mark. 17 out of 22 is not bad, 77%. What were your instant thoughts about it, Keirra? I mean, from looking on the outside, do you think she got it right? Were there a few in there that you thought, oh, some unfortunate people have missed out?
No, I actually really like the squad. I love the makeup of it. I really think that Jessie Grenvold has brought so much this year that she deserved that call up. I think rewarding that SSN week in, week out match sort of play is a really strong message to the rest of the competition that it's not just going to be the favourites or the people that have done it before. There is an opportunity within that squad that there will be people rewarded for that. I think that's going to give a lot of hope to some players out there. Amy Parmenter coming back into the squad, having only played the one role at wing defence. There was a lot of chat around not having a traditional wing defence in the squad anymore because is that position redundant? Like, do we run Joe Weston at wing defence? Do we run Jamie Lee Price? We've got Sunday Aria. We're not having the Renee Hallemans. We're not having the Claire McMinimans who just play that wing defence role in the past few years. So I think it's a real nod to match play and what the nuances of each position, and that you might not necessarily pick them in the game day squad, but to have them in the environment is so important because they bring that isolated pressure in the training environment that you are going to come up against at Commonwealth Games at those big events where you're having to back up again and again, and you need that versatility.
You absolutely do. Just on Com Games, the team will be announced at the end of this week, early next week. So that will be a team of 12 that will be going into the village. There'll be 3 training partners. Now, they'll be part of their preparation camps in Australia, but once they head overseas, those 3 won't be traveling. You can make changes up until the actual team enters the village. So if anyone does get injured in preparation, some of those emergencies, those 3 could come in. But once the team enters the village, that's what people need to understand. You cannot day 2, day 3 into the tournament make a change. You have to be 1 rotation down. You've got to be really selective in that 12 who is going to be covering multiple positions. And if someone goes down, where do we fill that gap? You've really got to prepare for the worst to make sure that you've got the best outcome. Hopefully they all get through. Paige Hadley had a calf last time at Commonwealth Games, and it does put a lot more load on other players having to fill those minutes. I do think it is safe in combinations that have been tested at international level, because this season has shown that the rest of international netball, whether it's Jamaica, South Africa, New Zealand, they are good in our league. We are making them better. I know people worry about that, but international netball needs to be great. And it hasn't been for the last couple of years. So I think it's good that they're on our shores. We're making them good, but we're also making ourselves even better because we challenge where our baseline is to go higher and better. Another news was that Helen Housby will be missing the Commonwealth Games with her injury. It's sad because the Swifts have had to find a new way to play without a Helen Housby, but the England Roses without a Helen Housby is quite alarming.
Yeah, look, the back injury is going to have her out of the Commonwealth Games. Really sad news for the Roses. I think there hasn't been a game where Helen Housby hasn't been a part of the Roses for a very long time. So it's going to change the brand, the look of their squad. They've obviously had the Super League over there and players will step up into that role. Sasha Glasgow has been named as part of that squad. That's an opportunity for Sasha now to step up into that goal attack position. She's been doing it for Fever. She said that is something that she wants to achieve. And this is her opportunity.
It absolutely is. I think Glasgow is a massive one for them, that she's been there the last couple of seasons. She obviously has played a little bit with the Cardwell at the Mavs. Interesting times for them. I did want to ask you before we go into this week's round, Keirra, when you won the premiership and you were undefeated all year, what type of culture or team environment breeds that success and that ability to be able to do it? I don't think that's ever going to happen again. So, what was it that really made that team so exceptional?
I think we had a real understanding of what the standard was that we wanted to achieve, and that was at training. If there was an error at training, there were consequences. There were sideline sprints. Every mistake had a consequence. I think that over the period of time bred that when we were in the game, we had understanding about what that meant. If we had a captain's run before the game, there were people sprinting through the captain's run, making up the fact that they had made a mistake, and that was a missed shot or a turnover or a missed rebound. We just set our standards so high within our training environment that when we stepped out on court, it almost felt easier than what we were putting ourselves under pressure at training. We did a lot of fatigue training, a lot of running and then into fatigue drills. Again, any mistakes under fatigue, we've got a consequence. So whether that's sprinting or, hill sprint or whatever it was that the S&C came up with, that really got our mindset into that consciousness around being careful with the ball, I suppose you'd say, and making good decisions under pressure and fatigue.
And when you do make the error, because mistakes are normal in a game, you got to work your butt off to get it back. And that transition piece of you're either attacker or defender, you're never standing there spectating in a game. I remember Simone Kinder said that to me, and she was like, "If you want to spectate, there's a seat next to me on the bench." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you." It's great advice. Do you have a great piece of advice that a coach gave you, or your own personal quote or a mantra that you use playing days?
I think really putting the team first at all times. I think that for me personally, any decision I would make or feel or be a part of was around what was best for the team in that moment. And whether or not that was, supporting someone on court who needed it or whether that was helping someone through. We obviously had Romelda in our side very early and she was very young and she needed a lot of extra support outside of just the netball, picking up, dropping off, driving, all those things you wouldn't expect to have to do. Doing that, putting your team first and using that as a mentality around all the decisions you make, basically from when you wake up to when you go to bed.
Any of your teammates would say you were the ultimate team player. So the fact that that's how you went about your business, you were the team vibe, the ultimate teammate for everyone's. No doubt that that's why you had so much success when you were playing. Let's have a quick look at round 13 coming up. It's the Swifts versus the Thunderbirds, the Firebirds and the Lightning. You will be doing that. It's Battle of the Bruce or Battle of the Freeway. It's not Battle of the Courtney Bruce. It's Battle Freeway. Who's your pick on the Saturday games?
Well, it's the Swifts up first, and I think a home court advantage. It's going to be tough against the Adelaide Thunderbirds. They've got some form, the Swifts, and I think if they could catch the Thunderbirds out, maybe just relaxing the second last week as they lead into finals. I think this one will be close, but I think the Thunderbirds will get the job done. I think defensively, they've shown the pressure that they can apply full court and the 10 players rolling through. I just don't think the defensive end of the Swifts has really come to play this season. I think they've probably been under par from their own opinions in terms of winning ball back. Thunderbirds have got so much firepower through the front end. And if I look at the next game of the Queensland Cup, gosh, there will be some spice in this match. I absolutely think the Firebirds want to ruin the Lightning's party and will come out and want to really put their best foot forward after the last few weeks having really slow starts against the Swifts and the Fever. I think we'll see an electric first quarter from the Firebirds. But the Lightning won the round 2 match by 1 goal. It was a Danelle Wallam super shot. So I'm thinking it's going to go down to the wire, but I think it's going to be the Firebirds that get the win over the Lightning this week.
Well, big calls. Then on Sunday, we have the derby, Vixens versus Mavs, and then Giants versus Fever. I think the Fever will get the job done against the Giants, but the Vixens and Mavs game. Who are you picking in this clash? I feel like this is the game to watch because as a Victorian, I believe it could be history in the making. Mavs never ever won a derby. They're in the best seat to be able to do it. Game to watch. And do you have someone in this game to potentially have a blinder?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say, look, I think Jessie Grenvold is going to come out and absolutely slay. I think just the enormity of what she's achieved in such a short time, she's been outstanding. I think that there was pressure on her, but the realization that she's meant to be where she is and that she deserves every second that she has on court and all the extras that come with it. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I know it went to extra time. I don't think we're going to go to extra time, but I think the Mavs will get the job done. It'll be off the hand of a super shot from Pallavi. She's going to play a big role in this match. Jez is probably going to have a few nightmares about what happened in extra time last time. They played the Vixens. I think he's going to want to right those wrongs.
Yeah, for me, I think the one to watch is Shimona Nelson. Over the last couple of weeks when she's played against some strong defenders, she needs to stand up because when she gets the volume, the supply and demand early in the 1 point game in those first 10 minutes of every single quarter, whether she's on in the Power 5 or not, Shimona Nelson is the key to the Mavs' success. So she needs to have volume. I want to see her working that front hold, that back hold, just owning it. So Shimona is the one for me. Jessie Grenvold's one for you and a Pallavi super shot. I love it. I can't wait to watch it and be there on Sunday. Thank you so much, Keirra, for your insight and expertise. Love hearing you call. Good luck for your game, Firebirds and Lightning on Saturday. Last one. Who's winning the premiership? You got a pick?
Ooh, Thunderbirds. I think it'll be the Thunderbirds against the Vixens. I think it'll be close, but I think the Thunderbirds have got the firepower.
Pink ladies, there you have it. Thanks, Keirra. Appreciate. Good luck to everyone playing netball on the weekend, and we'll see you next week.